Capers and Bob Delaney are our officials. This is game 2. Spurs winning 103-81, the lowest scoring total that the Sonics have scored in the playoffs. And the opening tip won by Seattle in gold, and Allen controls, started by Bruce Bowen. Luke Ridnour and Tony Parker, the 2 point guards, and Tim Duncan out to meet Reggie Evans.
The Sonics can't be impatient. One of the things that they have to do is get good ball movement so that they can get good shots.
Rashard Lewis misses the first shot of the game, and Luke Ridnour fouls Tony Parker. Ridnour has been, well, he's got his hands full playing Tony Parker and has all year. Parker scoring the first 7 points in the first quarter, and Nate McMillan knows they've got to do something about Parker.
And we're going to see if they're going to do a little better job on Tony Parker. They want to keep the ball in his left hand, keep him on the left side of the court. He's much less efficient on that left side.
And once again, Brent Barry starts as the off guard. Manu Ginobili will be coming off the bench. It's worked since game 2 of the series against Denver, and Tim Duncan gets the scoring underway.
Well, see, when Tim turns to the outside, that negates the help that James was getting. If he's effective with that, Seattle's going to have a problem.
And the Sonics are missing Vladimir Radmanovic, who is their top scorer off the bench, and their 3rd leading scorer during the regular year suffered a sprained ankle less than a minute before Ray Allen had his sprained ankle, and the foul inside against Nazr Mohammed.
And, Coach, I like the fact that they went inside and gave the big fella Jerome James a touch right off the bat. They've got to keep him involved, keep his confidence up.
Jerome James came back to earth in a big way, John, with only 4 points, 2 rebounds after a great series against Sacramento.
Well, one of the reasons why he hasn't scored a lot is that I think that they bypassed him a lot in the last game. You've got to give him touches, as Rex indicated, if for nothing else but to make the Spurs react to him, which opens up the outside for their shooters.
And Bruce Bowen committing the foul on Ray Allen, and a lot has been going on before the series started, but obviously Bruce Bowen getting under Ray Allen's skin. The two have clashed before. Once they were friends, they share the same agent, and Bowen fouling Allen to start this game.
And this is a good sign for Seattle fans. Ray Allen going up. He's going up strong. He comes down awkwardly, lands fine on that ankle. But that's an important play for Ray Allen. He's got to get himself into the game.
And he started to say that he thought when he landed on Bruce Bowen's foot to suffer the sprained ankle that it was Bowen's fault. Later on, he kind of pulled back and said, look, I have to see the tape, and it's hard for me to say now. So it's the two going at it and clashing tonight again. Parker against Ridnour getting in the paint.
See, and that's a good sign because Tony in the last ball game got all the way to the goal. Now the Seattle defense is closing up and making it difficult for him.
Brent Barry misses a 3, and that is exactly what Nate McMillan wants to do, John. He wants to crowd the paint and give 3-point shots, not let Parker penetrate.
Well, he has to do that because his team defense, one man, Tony Parker's too quick to have one guy isolated on him.
Reggie Evans travels, turns it over. The score is tied.
And right here, Tony Parker doing a good job getting inside, but right there, Sonics defense collapsing, making him force the ball back out.
Tony Parker with 29 points, the high score of the game. 11 of 18 from the field, and he has been a scoring demon the last 3 games with 29 and 21 in the last 2 games of the Nuggets series before leading the Spurs in game 1.
Guys, did I just see Reggie Evans jump up with the ball a minute ago and come back down?
Here's Luke Ridnour to the right of the key, and Ridnour, who scored 8 points and really hasn't done much against the Spurs this season, 4-2.
No, but Luke Ridnour, Dick, is going to be a terrific player in this league. Once he gets some experience under his belt, if he can learn to shoot the ball, he's going to be terrific.
But it's very necessary for a young player like Ridnour to get an early start because they're affected so much by how they start the ball game.
Sonics with their first lead in the series, and Tony Parker from outside, and Seattle with the rebound. Now, these teams in the regular season split 4 games, but many of the principals like Allen and Duncan and Lewis had missed games, so not much you can draw from those contests. Here's Ray Allen off balance, and the rebound by Evans inside. And the crowd yelling for a travel. None called, and here's Ridnour driving the baseline. Duncan getting the rebound. Duncan bringing it up. He has a scratch on his face, so there was some physical play, and a good block as Rashard Lewis got a piece of Nazr Mohammed's first shot, and the field goal
Well, Nazi's not going to get that many passes, so he needs to take that out with 2 hands so that he can earn a foul if he doesn't get the basket.
And Duncan has 4 points. We're tied at 4. 3.5 gone by in the opening quarter.
See, and I like this. They're going in at least to James now. What he's got to realize is he doesn't have to take the shot every time the ball goes in.
And here is Tony Parker penetrating, but put in by Nazr Mohammed. Nazr Mohammed, who has been the offensive rebounding leader for the Spurs, averaging 4 a game, gets a putback.
Seattle's done a great job initially in this game of keeping San Antonio from getting to the basket. Last 2 trips, quasi-fast breaks have been their downfall, but they're doing a very good job so far.
And Rex on the offensive end. The Sonics know without Radmanovich, and they don't know what Allen can do. They can't rely on the three-point shot for the whole game.
They've got to take that ball to the basket, Dick.
Here's Barry finding Bowen. Parker guarded by Allen. Plenty of time on the shot clock. And again, Tony Parker can't penetrate. Here's Duncan inside, blocked by James. And Duncan follows. And his third is a charge.
So you see the ability of Duncan to get 2 and 3 efforts. James didn't even react after the first effort. In fact, he's holding his face while Duncan is shooting the basketball. That's totally unnecessary. He needs to still compete.
Spurs in front 8-4. Opening moments of the first quarter. Dick Stockton along with John Thompson, Rex Chapman, and Charles Davis.
That is good offense right there, and he's picked up a second foul on Bruce Bowen right away. Ray Allen's doing exactly what he should do, and he's paying no attention to Bruce Bowen right now.
You see, one of the things he's doing, Rex, which you know, is that he's attacking Bruce Bowen as opposed to running from him and trying to get a jump shot. He's been whining about fouls all week because he's trying to position the officials. As you see now, he's starting towards the basket, and then he pops out, makes the official make a call.
And the foul before the shot, but Bruce Bowen comes out of the game with 2 fouls and an early appearance for Manu Ginobili, as well as Glenn Robinson. Robinson coming in the game. Robinson scored 16 points and played some solid defense, which is not what he's known for. Allen coming off the screen, and James is there to put it in. So that time, Lewis and James crashing the offensive board.
And that negates the Spurs from running the way they did in the first game. The Spurs are doing a terrible job of protecting their defensive board, and definitely Seattle's going to their offensive board a lot stronger.
And there's Tony Parker, and Greg Popovich telling us, I don't expect Parker will start off the game nearly like he did. Here's Manu Ginobili hitting a 3. Manu Ginobili, who had kind of a quiet game, only 10 points on 3 for 6 shooting, and Greg Popovich is saying that Manu did not let the game come to him. He expects a better showing tonight, but Ginobili picking up the personal here.
Well, you know what is really interesting? Everybody's talking here in town about Ray Allen whining to the officials. Ray Allen is smart. He's created a consciousness of the fact that guys that guard him are holding him and touching him, which is the only way you can guard him, but yet he's made the officials aware just to look.
Tim Duncan going out, replaced by Robert Horry. Ball batted out. 12 on the shot clock for the Sonics. Rashard Lewis. Rittenauer making the pass on the penetration. Rittenauer gets his second field goal, and it's a 3-point lead for the Spurs.
What a tough shot. I mean, put your head down and go to the basket, young fellow. That was a terrific, terrific shot.
Luke Rittenauer, of all of his performances this year, has played the Spurs to the low end. He has not scored more than 8 points in any game, and Rittenauer looking to have a good game played the whole year as the starting point guard for Seattle.
In the first game, Tony Parker took his confidence away from him by coming out and punishing him. Now Rittenauer is getting a good start himself, and they can expect the youngster to have a good game.
Parker spinning his way in, so Tony Parker scoring his first points of the game. Spurs by 5.
I don't envy Luke Rittenauer. He's got his hands full with Tony Parker, but he's got to rely on some more defense. These guys in yellow have to help Luke Rittenauer out with Tony Parker.
Well, absolutely, Rex. You can't blame Rittenauer for that only alone. You know, so the help has got to come from the big back guy.
Absolutely. Here's Rashard Lewis, and the three-point attempt missed out of bounds. Last touch by the Spurs, and a timeout coming up. So a different start for Nate McMillan's Seattle Sonics, who beat Sacramento in 5, got whipped soundly in the first game of the series.
Ray Allen hurt his ankle and never returned after a tough first half. but he came to the arena early today after not practicing yesterday in order to get some work in. At 5:30, he got out on the court, moved around a little bit on the ankle, took some shots, made sure that he could test it out so that he could start the game tonight. Since that time, he's added 2 ankle braces, both of them on his ankle, one on each ankle, and he's moved around awfully well in the first half of this ball game. And Coach and Rex had a chance to talk with him before the game to find out if he was ready to go, and all he did was curtly nod at me yes, and went back to his business.
And why not? And Ray Allen, who averaging over 28 points again, was the leading scorer in the first round of the playoffs. And when he got hurt, these Sonics were already down by 16 points at that point. A 5-second violation, rarely called, gives the ball over to San Antonio.
And Charles, guys, that's valuable information for us because, as we know, in Game 1, this ball game was virtually over by then, by this time of the game. Ray Allen's presence tonight and the fact that these guys have had a day of hell in the film room have turned the energy around for the Seattle Supersonics.
Well, if Ray Allen can't play in this game, Dick, if I'm Nate McMillan, I take sick leave.
He practically said that to us. Evans on the follow on Ray Allen's miss. So Allen right now is 0 for 3 from the field. And there is Ginobili releasing down court, getting the lay-in. So Manu Ginobili now with 5 points off the bench and a 7-point lead for the Spurs.
Pretty nice luxury for Greg Popovich to get Bruce Bowen in foul trouble and come in with all-star like Manu Ginobili.
And Brent Barry also on the bench, and an early appearance for Glenn Robinson, who joined the team late in the year for his mid-range shooting ability, and an offensive foul has been called against Evans, his first foul. So there is Reggie Evans, undrafted, coming off a quiet game, scored only 3 points, but had 7 rebounds, tied with Nick Collison for the team lead.
I'm going to tell you right now, if Jerome James doesn't get more actively involved on the boards and defensively, the Spurs going to be in for a happiness under the basket.
Ginobili hitting his second 3 of the game, has 8 points, so if it's not Parker, it's Manu Ginobili, and one of them usually picking up the slacks. Manu early on, and he blocks Jerome James, and Evans misses the follow, and Evans has missed several opportunities on the offensive glass.
He has. He's been right there. He just hasn't been able to finish. But I'm with you, Coach. Jerome James has got to get down in a stance or something.
And Parker on the fast break. So those that think the Spurs play half-court offense have not watched Parker and Ginobili. When it's there, they'll take it at a 12-point lead for San Antonio on a 9-0 run.
Well, defense leads to offense, guys. Jerome James gets a shot blocked by Ori. Reggie Evans misses a point-blank putback. And on the other end, transition, defense at its worst.
Got to have some good play out of James and Evans. Combined now, you see 37 minutes, 7 points, 3 for 9, field goals, 9 rebounds. These two guys have got to show up and do a lot of the so-called dirty work, the banging and the activity underneath the basket.
So far, they are 1 for 6 from the field, but they do have 7 rebounds between them. Here's Antonio Daniels into the game. This is the shot, and here's the break. It's a 3-on-1. Parker in the middle, beating Glenn Robinson. This is a bank shot, so the Spurs squander a 3-on-1.
Tough break for Glenn Robinson. That's one of the toughest shots in basketball right there.
And driving it in is Ray Allen getting his first field goal. It comes on a drive, and guys, I have to say, nothing seems to be bothering him as far as the ankle goes.
No, you're exactly right, Dick. And I like the fact that Ray Allen missed a couple of jump shots and took that ball hard to the basket.
Well, it's a vast difference in how the paint is protected when Tim Duncan is not in the ball game. Also, Ray Allen is very smart and senses who's behind his man that is guarding him. The second line of defense, he's aware of.
This three-point attempt is missed by Manu Ginobili, who has hit 2 earlier. Spurs lead by 10, 2.5 to play in the opening quarter. And here is the Ginobili and Ori trapping Allen. And once again, Reggie Evans with another opportunity inside. And here is a breakaway, and Parker will put it in. Parker now with 6 points. and the Spurs lead by 12, matching their biggest lead of the game.
Nate McMillan's not happy with this. The last time it was 3-on-1 break, now it's 2-on-1 break. The Seattle defense isn't even reacting to chase the guys that are stealing the ball.
Nate McMillan said we played at regular season speed. They played at playoff speed. And on that last instance, it looked like Seattle was playing at the same speed they did in Game 1, Rex.
That was a 2-on-0, 3-on-0. Nick Collison gets the ball and tries to get it back to Rashard Lewis. Rashard Lewis has got to go after that ball, but there's nobody back. Ray Allen just kind of jogging back into the play. But right now, Seattle's got to get better in transition. They got to get back and stop this basketball.
Tony Parker going to the bench, and Beno Udrih, the rookie point guard from Slovenia, coming into the game. Udrih, 4 points in game number 1. And in the playoffs, 3 for 14 from long range, and that has been his strength. The foul was called against Glenn Robinson. There is Udrih. Lewis hits the first, and the Spurs in the penalty.
You know, guys, I almost feel like Rashard Lewis has got to find a way to help Ray Allen out. It's almost like the rest of the Seattle Supersonics are standing around and waiting on Ray Allen to carry them, like he did in the Sacramento series. Rashard Lewis is an all-star, and he's got to help the cause.
Well, Lewis and Evans are 0 for 7 from the field, and the Sonics trail by 10.
Well, anytime you have a player like Ray that's out there, you can feed off of him and pick up a lot of easy baskets if you're aggressive-minded offensively.
Antonio Daniels anticipates that pick and roll very nicely. Minute and a half remaining in the opening quarter. Daniels played for the Spurs for 4 years, a member of one of their championship teams. Lewis facing Duncan, and here is Ray Allen. Allen not able to hit from outside. His only field goal on a layup thus far. Duncan, and a great pass from Ginobili to Udrih to Tim Duncan, who has 8.
And the reason Tim Duncan's able to get that basket is because he outran Danny Fortson from end to end. He's been outrunning Jerome James from end to end. Somebody's got to keep up with Tim Duncan.
Daniels with a turnaround hits, but you can see where these Spurs have a 12-point edge in the paint, and Collison along with Fortson in there, along with the Daniels and Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis on defense. Ginobili gets around Allen easily, lays it in, and Manu Ginobili has equaled his Game 1 total with 10 in this first quarter.
And what a big difference it is. When you see the Seattle players attempting, as Ray did, to go, you see the middle close up. When you see the Spurs go to the basket, it's like going down the freeway. They have a clear passage all the way to the basket.
How about Glenn Robinson's defense? Never had that reputation before. This is what he's known for, the mid-range jumper. And the rebound by Allen with 20 seconds to go, and the Sonics can play for the last shot. And it was in Game 1 that Robinson took a couple of charges, played the best defense that anyone has seen him play in a while.
Well, you don't like the body language right now, the Supersonics. All the players are looking over for the bench for instructions. They aren't just reacting. Basketball is a game of reaction. It's not a thing that you've got to think and methodically come back. Not against a team as good as the Spurs.
And that basket will count. It'll be a 2-point basket for Glenn Robinson at the buzzer after Nick Collison came in with the layup. And once again, the Spurs defense holding Seattle 16 first-quarter points.
Well, Glenn Robinson won't miss too many mid-range jump shots. He missed a couple in a row. He comes back and buries one to end the first quarter. San Antonio ahead 28-16.
10 points, leads everybody. Let's get you back out to SBC Center.
In the first quarter, and they've held the Sonics to 26% from the field.
Well, one of the reasons they're shooting a high percentage is they're getting down and getting a lot of layups on them. And Seattle's not even getting back in transition.
Ball knocked away as Ori missed, and Duncan and the Spurs will have the ball last touched by the Sonics. It's Beno Udrih at the point with Ginobili, Tim Duncan, Robert Ori, and Glenn Robinson.
The body language of Seattle Sonics leaves a lot to be desired. You know, they just don't have that expression of confidence on their face right now.
And a 2-point field goal for Manu Ginobili, who's hit 5 out of 6 and leads all scorers with 12.
But the very few times that the Sonics are getting stops, Coach, they're also giving up offensive rebounds, which is just disheartening. They give up an offensive rebound, and what happens? Ginobili comes back and knocks down a 3.
And now Collison called for the offensive foul, or now they change it to Fortson. And Ray Allen starting the second quarter on the bench, having scored 4 points, played all 12 minutes in the opening quarter, hit 1 out of 5 from the field, and that was a layup.
Be interesting to see how Ray's ankle responds after he gets cold from sitting on the bench. A lot of times when a guy's hurt, you're better off in leaving him out there so that he can stay warm.
Well, I agree with you, and I wouldn't expect, Nate knows this, and I don't expect Nate to leave him over there that long.
Nate McMillan, who has been with the Seattle Sonics throughout his career, 12-year career, player, assistant coach, and a head coach. And it's been 3 years since the Sonics have been in the postseason. Early moments of the second quarter, 30-16, a steal by Antonio Daniels. Daniels very sharp for the Sonics off the bench in this game thus far. And a foul called, and Robert Horry committing the personal foul for San Antonio.
One of the things that you can notice about the Sonics is that in their offense, they're far more patient this time than they were the last game. However, they're still, when they miss, they don't get back fast. They tried to slow the pace down so they could get a reasonably good shot and not initiate a fast break. But even with a slower pace, the Spurs are still able to get layups.
Daniels, with the penetration, has 2 field goals in the game as Brent Barry, who started the game at shooting guard, replaces Manu Ginobili, who goes out with 12. Horry has it batted away, and the foul is called, and Collison inside had his hand on the ball, and the foul is called against Luke Ridnour on a reach-in.
Well, Antonio Daniels does a nice job of using the screen and roll coming in. He's always been a very good guy going to the basket. Antonio Daniels has the sleeve on a la Hakeem Olajuwon from a few years ago when Hakeem was going through some blood clots in his leg, and I don't know whether that's a style thing or out of necessity for Antonio, but bringing some of the old school back, it looks like.
The thing you like about him, though, is his aggressiveness, though. You know, he tends to play with a little attitude a little bit, and I think that that's what Nate would love to see some of these other players right now. When he talked about stepping up a notch, this is what he's talking about with the attitude you see exhibited now.
Robinson going out, replaced by Tony Parker, and Rashard Lewis is into the game, and checking in as well, Ronald Murray for the first time, and Luke Ridnour going out of the game, having scored 4. So Horry on the line once again, and Robert Horry shooting 50% from the field and 42% from three-point range in the playoffs. Nothing new for him.
Well, he's had enough experience, I would say, in playoff ball games that, you know, this is nothing new, period, to him. You think about a guy like Luke Ridnour in here, and his emotional feelings as opposed to Horry's probably are the opposite end of the spectrum.
One in his second year, and Horry in his 13th season.
Well, Lewis is a guy also, Dick, that you would expect, particularly Ray Allen is not in the game. There's a guy that's an all-star that cannot just blend in.
And Collison on a nifty feed. Good penetration that time by Daniels.
Well, Antonio Daniels has practiced against these same players for the last 4 years. He knows their strengths, weaknesses, tendencies, and Nick Collison doing a very nice job of finishing at the basket right now.
And Duncan gave Fortson a shot to the face. There you see the scratch on Duncan's face from the game 1 physical stuff, and there's Duncan, who gets called, and that's his first foul.
Tim Duncan fighting for position and gives a little push off. Danny Fortson with a little bit of a flop, but hey, turnabout's fair play. Danny had his share of calls, bad calls, and unfair calls in this series.
Fortson driving in out of control, and here's a 4-on-1 break. Brent Barry reverse layup. So the fast break story right now favoring the Spurs. It shouldn't be that way. Nate McMillan's team likes to get out and run, and it is 33-20 San Antonio.
But they like to run the opposite way. There are a lot of people who are offensively quick and defensively slow, and most of the time it's just an attitude.
Barry on Daniels, and setting a screen is Fortson. 4 on the shot clock, and Daniels did not set himself. Wild shot for him.
Just a horrible possession all the way around. Antonio Daniels is the only player for the Sonics to touch the ball that entire possession.
See, and that's what happens once things aren't going well. You've got to still maintain and stick to the game plan. But if you become impatient, particularly against a team like the Spurs, they'll take you right out of here.
Air ball by Ullman, put in by Nazir Muhammad. And the biggest lead right now by the Spurs, and getting back to Seattle, Nate McMillan say we got to get away from one pass and shoot in this one.
He said we got to move that ball around. San Antonio's defense is just too good. It's designed to beat. It's designed to beat teams that are driving the ball into the middle.
Well, San Antonio limited the Supersonics to 22 points in the first quarter of Game 1, 16 in the first quarter of Game 2. So they've even tightened their defense. In the first game tonight, as the Miami Heat defeated the Wizards 108-102 to take a 2-0 lead, but surprised by the wide margins in Game 1?
Well, you know, really I'm not. And I'm going to say, you know, one thing that we've all known in the NBA around the league this year is that there basically have been 4 elite teams. And that's kind of coming to fruition. Those 4 teams are on a collision course to meet in the conference final.
Murray driving in and out of bounds. Last touch by the Spurs, Muhammad. And a new clock for Seattle.
And, you know, Dick, that's not to minimize what Nate McMillan and Seattle's done this year. They've had a great season. They may continue to have a great season, but the way it's shaking out now, they still look overmatched.
Duncan blocking Collison underneath.
I like Collison's activity, though. Of all the Seattle players right now, particularly the guys that are coming in the game, he seems to initiate a lot of stuff.
And here's Collison inside. Murray with the follow. But you're absolutely right, John, because Nick Collison, who really lost his rookie year with surgery on both shoulders. And, of course, he wowed the crowd, even this crowd, with his 68-foot heave at the end of the third quarter in Game 1 has been a star off the bench for the Sonics.
Well, he doesn't seem to be waiting around letting the game come to him. He's involved on the boards. He's involved in trying to get back defensively.
Ray Allen back in there and shadowed by Bruce Bowen. Allen loses Bowen, and the offensive foul is called against Nick Collison.
That's a rookie call. You know, that play had nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do. He had lost Ray Allen, as you see here. He loses Bruce Bowen, loses him, and Bruce just got bailed out right there. Bruce runs into the screen. You know, I could take that one or leave it, Coach.
So, and even though he lost Bruce Bowen, there was a detour sign in the back called Tim Duncan. And that makes the difference to a good defensive play out on the perimeter.
Watch your back.
That's exactly right.
Here's Duncan, and trapped out there, Horry with the pick and roll, and here's Robert Horry stepping back, firing the three and hitting. Robert Horry with a three, and now the Spurs lead 38-22, their biggest lead with under 7 minutes to go in the first half.
Well, you can see this is what Seattle's doing right now. They're taking their time and trying to probe to get what they want right now. But that also stops the referees so that they have full vision of what's going on, so they make a call like just happened. If you throw the illegal screen, they're going to see that as well as a defender holding you.
Danny Fortson called for that foul, and Fortson going to the bench is replaced by Reggie Evans. So 4 offensive fouls called already on the Sonics.
I always liked it best when the referee's feet were moving, too, because I thought I could get away with more illegal stuff there. When they standing and watching, boy, they see it all.
Collison and Allen there, and they'll call it on Collison, and Nick picking up his second personal foul.
And once again, you see Tony Parker. We tried to figure the other night, is there anything other than a whirling dervish? Can you just be a regular dervish? He certainly is a whirling one.
But, you know, you have to give Collison credit, though, because the last game when he made that spin move, he had a freeway to the basket. Collison is making some mistakes, but at least he's initiating the effort, which the rest of the team is not doing.
He is active, no question about it. Parker hits the first. Rashard Lewis comes in. He has scored only 2 points, and right now, let's see what's on TNT.
Executive producer Steven Spielberg and DreamWorks Television present a 6-week television event, Into the West, starting June 10th, only on TNT.
And the Spurs up by 18, nearly halfway through the second quarter. And right now, the Sonics have no answer for San Antonio, showing no effects of the second half, where they kind of went into a lapse as Murray comes around the screen and hits the shot. Murray, and he could be a factor in this series.
For those of you who don't know, Flip Murray can score that basketball. He's got a beautiful jump shot, got beautiful touch, and really has a scorer's mentality.
He started for Rashard Lewis back on March the 30th against the Spurs and had 17 points and 7 rebounds. So he's done it against this team. Ginobili throws it away, no one underneath. Here is Murray trying to save it and cannot as he hurdles into the crowd. Timeout, 5:42 remaining, second quarter. And so far, the San Antonio Spurs lead with the best defense in the Western Conference lead, 40-24.
San Antonio Spurs in charge in Game 2 of this second round series in the Western Conference. 40-24 over the Sonics about midway through the second quarter. SBC Center not far from the Alamo in San Antonio. And a reminder to soccer fans joining ESPN's coverage of the second leg of the semifinals of the Copa del Rey. Athletic Bilbao and Real Betis will battle in leg number 2. A stalemate in the first leg, a 0-0 draw. Something's got to give. See it here on ESPN. Check the time in your area of the world. Meanwhile, the NBA playoffs roll on with the Spurs leading the Sonics in Game 2.
Well, he seems to be doing okay, but also a little out of sorts, as we see him miss the jumper as he gets fouled. And then this is very uncharacteristic Ray Allen, missing by a mile. The only real true good bucket he's made is when he's taken it to the basket. But as we all know, when you see that ball go in the basket, you're very energized running back down court transition-wise. When you miss shots, it seems to make you tired.
Well, you know, Kenny Smith had a great comment last night when he talked about, without Ray Allen in practice, he says, how can you really practice the adjustments you want to make against the Spurs? So that really hurt them, and with Radmanovic out as well. That's not easy.
Well, it's very difficult because he's the focal point. He's the inspirational leader of this team. But as our very capable sideline reporter Charles Davis said, he's also very heavily wrapped up in that ankle. So he's not going to have the fluidness that he ordinarily would have in his lift and his shot.
Well, Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis, who they need badly, are 1 for 10 combined in this game. Under 5.5 to go. And here's Bruce Bowen guarded by Allen. Bowen picking up 2 early fouls. Didn't seem to hurt the Spurs. And Bowen going in with the layup. Getting past Allen, his first point.
That's just terrible defense. Terrible defense. Ray Allen has got to do a better job of keeping Bruce Bowen out of the middle. But where are the yellow shirts converging on the white one?
Daniels driving in. The basket counts and a foul. So Antonio Daniels, practically a one-man gang in many respects, is now 3 of 5 from the field. And their leading scorer with 6 as Nazi Muhammad chalks up his second.
Well, as you see here, Ray Allen, he's a little gingerfoot on that ankle, and that's Olay defense, any way you want to call it. But the yellow shirts have got to converge in the middle and give support. Make them kick that ball back out.
Daniels in his 8th year from Bowling Green.
Well, and I love just what you said, that Daniels is a guy who's aggressive. He's a guy who's attacking constantly. He's got a little attitude, a little expression about it. When you look at a lot of the Seattle players right now, they look as if the game is over when the game is just started.
Well, Collison and Daniels have been the 2 leaders in that department.
Well, exactly right. They're making sins of commission rather than sins of omission. At least they're trying something.
Parker driving in, winds up on the floor, and a 5-on-4 now for the Sonics, and the turnaround by Rashard Lewis and his first field goal, and it comes with 4:42 remaining in the first half.
Well, that's inexcusable because Rashard Lewis is an all-star. He can get more than 1 field goal off the glass, filling the lane as he just did. He's too good as a ball player to be this inconspicuous as he is in this game, particularly with Ray Lewis out.
And he was going to be really the X factor in this series. Ginobili throwing it away, and Daniels is there. 3-on-2, and Murray with the reverse layup. Here's Lewis again. Fake, and he gets the basket.
That's what he should have been doing. I mean, now he's involved in the ball game. There are many ways in which you can score in a ball game other than in the half-court set. And particularly when you have his kind of ability and athleticism. It's inexcusable for him to be this inconspicuous.
Well, the Sonics were down by as many as 18, but they've outscored the Spurs 7-0 in under a minute to cut it to 11.
To slow Amari Stoudemire down.
Well, what is amazing is how Stoudemire has expanded his game watching him. Not only is he doing a lot of work around the paint, but he's now getting to the point he's reading his windows well when guys drive, doing a lot of things to improve his game.
Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili at guard, and gambling for the steal and committing the foul is Flip Murray. And Tim Duncan up front along with Bruce Bowen and Robert Horry. Murray's first foul. So now Seattle trying to make a run here with 4:01 remaining in the first half, down by 11.
And if you're Nate McMillan, you don't mind that foul because Murray acts like he's trying to guard the man. He's not just standing out there watching it.
13th foul against Seattle. Here is Robert Horry with a turnaround. Good defense that time by Rashard Lewis.
You said it right, Coach. He's out here competing, and that's all you can ask. You got to go out there and compete against these guys, whether they're superior right now or not. You got to compete.
And you particularly have to make it up, Dick, because Ray Allen is hobbled. I don't care how he's playing or whether he's limping or not. He's heavily taped, and he's not himself.
Well, Rashard Lewis trying to get to be himself. Hits his third field goal after an early drought. Has 8 points, and it's a team that has a 3-guard lineup right now with Allen, Daniels, and Murray, along with Rashard Lewis and Evans. So it's a small team out there for Seattle. Here's Duncan double team. Ginobili fakes the 3. Penetrates and fouls.
Very good move by Ginobili. And as far as Mr. Lewis goes, isn't it amazing when you find some rebounds, get some easy buckets, how a jump shot will go for you? Oh, boy.
Lewis committing the foul. 4th team foul against the Sonics. Spurs have 2 and Manu Ginobili on the line. Ginobili with 12 points coming off the bench. 5 for 6 shooting. Has hit a couple of threes. And once again, the Spurs with a double-digit lead trying to add to it in the waning minutes of this first half.
And I think Pop and Ginobili have a special relationship. In that last game, he was beating on Ginobili. They up by 20, and I think you pick the players that you can do that with because you know that they won't dive on you. They'll come on out and still play.
Exactly.
And not looking for it, Evans was going to the basket, and Daniels threw him a pass that bounced off his back.
These are the type of plays that just kill you. You cannot have these type of plays against San Antonio. Every possession is valuable, especially when you're trying to chip away. Right here, Antonio Daniels, he should know better. First of all, he's wide open for a jump shot, and he's throwing it to a non-scorer in Reggie Evans.
And then Evans commits the foul, and it's the 15th foul against Seattle, and Glenn Robinson on the line. So Robinson makes the first, and right now let's step aside and send it to Ernie Johnson in our studio. Ernie, it's a 13-point lead for the Spurs. Seattle down by 18 at 1 point. Remember, they trailed by as many as 30 in game 1. Down by 13 and trying to get it under double digits before intermission.
Well, they're trying to be cautious and probed to be assured of getting a good shot because they shot up a lot of wild shots before. But you got to get back, and that's what they didn't do in the early segment.
And how about Lewis? After a slow start, number 2 for 9 in the first half of game 1, but he's cooking now. 4 of 9 for 10 points.
And that's what Seattle's going to have. They've got to have shots go down for them. If they don't have a chance in this series.
Under 2.5 to go off the rim. Duncan missing. And here come the Sonics, who are down by 11. And Rashard Lewis has scored the last 8 Sonics points. Here's Allen with a crossover and fouled. And it's Bruce Bowen. And that'll be 3 on Bowen.
Bruce Bowen looked over here. I was with Bruce Bowen in Miami years ago. He was a young rookie, free agent, trying to make the team. But he plays very good defense here, and I believe just gets bailed out. That's about as good a defense as you can play on that play.
But it's also very smart on Ray Allen. He set the tone all week of saying Bruce Bowen is grabbing me. He's dirty. He's doing this. So now he's not out here shooting jump shots. He's penetrating to the basket, which is forcing the officials to make a play, which is a smart thing to do after you set the stage for it.
Questionable coming into the game with a sprained ankle. The team lost Vladimir Radmanovich with a severely sprained ankle for the rest of the series. Allen now has 6 points. Amazing, only 1 field goal. That in a layup. Doesn't have his outside shot. Get the Sonics in the game down by 9.
And you can tell that he's not as explosive right now, not as fluid as he normally is. He's a very fluid, beautiful basketball player, and he is a little bit hobbled. You got to hand it to him.
Banked in by Duncan. Tim Duncan now in double figures with 10 points. coming off a 22.9 rebound effort in the opening game.
You let Tim have that kind of position on the low block, you might as well lighten the scoreboard up.
So it's an 11-point game. Allen trying to find the range, hitting a three. So that is the first three-point basket tonight by Seattle. They had only 2 in game 1, and they were second to Phoenix in that department in the regular year, and they needed and lived by the three-point shot. Here is Ginobili slicing down the middle for the layup, and the Spurs are up now again by 10.
So they're going back to that defense that they were playing the other day. Somebody has got to be ready to hit him when he goes through and pick him up.
No basket, the foul before the shot, and it's called against Brent Barry.
Well, and you're looking at this, Ginobili goes all the way through. You don't see anybody that make a wave. He comes in and splits the defense. You can see him initiated. You know he's an aggressive scorer. The defense in Seattle should have been over there and in place. But I was amused at Evans on that last pick and roll. When he went to the basket, he saw the receiver. The old-time point guards like Magic in them. If a big guy rolled to the basket, they'd hit you in the head with the ball. So after he got hit in the head, he did watch after that.
You know, when you coach, I don't remember ever you being amused at anything.
I wasn't amused at anything. But you're looking at this, I mean, here's a screen being set up, and now you get yourself in a situation where Ray Allen is very smart. He's probing, the official gives him the call. I don't know, that's a tic-tac foul.
I guess. Barry on the hand check, and Allen makes the free throw. So it's a 9-point game, 50-49, 1:02 left.
But you notice the difference, Rex. Now that Lewis has contributed, Ray doesn't have to press and feel the pressure. He can pick his spots. That's why Lewis has got to step up. He wants to respect this league of a star.
Allen has 11 points. Lewis has 10, the leading scorers for the Sonics, trailing by 8. So they've made up 10 points from their biggest deficit in this game. Under a minute remaining, 12 on the shot clock for the Spurs. And Evans defending Duncan. Allen trying to bat it away. Ginobili. Barry can hit a three. In the lane, trying to draw the foul. Goes after the rebound, and they're going to call it against the Sonics. So a shooting situation coming up for the Spurs.
Well, the one common theme for Seattle in the last few minutes is they've been making shots. If they make shots, they're going to be in the ball game. But if they don't, you know, it's going to be a long, long night, long series possibly.
Evans with his third personal foul on this one.
Well, the problem is that you let Barry get the second shot. You know, most of the time when a guy goes in and gets the second shot, the defense is so disgusted, you end up clobbering the guy. And if you don't clobber him, it looks like you're clobbering.
Barry on the free throw line, so Evans with his third foul has not scored tonight. And Jerome James is going to come in. He hasn't done much better. James with only 2 points in 8 minutes, 2 rebounds on 1 for 3 shooting. What's happened to this guy?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Nate McMillan's got to be very frustrated with that last call. He finally found a lineup that was competing and playing hard. And now he's got to roll the dice and put Jerome James back in the game. The guy has exhibited so far in this game, he's been very disinterested.
And the same could be said for game number 1, where he didn't do much. Here is Ray Allen, blocked by Ginobili. Great play by Manu Ginobili, who went after the ball. And foul going up court. And when Manu Ginobili gets ahead of steam, he can beat you so many ways, with steals, with assists, with rebounds. But what about this one? A block.
Well, right here, you know Ray Allen is not 100%. Ray Allen doesn't get his jump shot blocked. It's very difficult, especially for a guy like Ray Allen, to get his jump shot blocked. He's not getting the lift on his jumper, but a terrific play by Manu Ginobili.
And James committing the personal foul, Ginobili for 2.
Well, you love the fact that Ginobili is competitive. Yeah. And that's what Nate is trying to get out of his team. Just get out and get energized, scrap your way, make the game get ugly, and then put yourself in a situation where you're able to win. But you can't stand around and just watch guys go to the basket the way they've been doing.
Yeah, John, and has he raised his level in this playoffs? And what a year for Manu Ginobili, because Manu now, who's played on a championship club, wearing the gold medal for Argentina in the Olympics, he hasn't had much time off from basketball.
All you can do every night when you lace your shoes up is compete. And Manu Ginobili is going to give himself a chance every time he steps on the floor.
Well, that's what I think James has to do now for the Sonics. It's one thing to receive passes and score, but you have to compete and get on the glass and block shots now.
Playing for the last shot, Murray beating Rashard Lewis. And that'll do it. So the Sonics cannot score at the end, and so the Seattle Sonics came within 8 points, but a late flurry by the San Antonio Spurs lead it by 12. Ray Allen with 11 points on 2 for 7 shooting. And Manu Ginobili, who has 18 points in only 60 minutes of playing time, is with Charles Davis.
Manu, you're averaging nearly 21 points per game for the playoffs, but 18 in the first half. How were you so effective in the first half scoring?
No clue. I just came in and make a couple of threes, so that helps everything. Your confidence goes up really high.
You and Tony Parker, the energizers of this team, have you guys made a conscious decision to come out and really attack from your positions on the offensive end?
That's how we play. We're pretty quick, so we're trying to go by our first line. And once we are close to the paint, try to finish, get a foul, or find the open guy. That's the key of our game.
All right, thanks a lot, Manu. 18 points in the first half for Manu Ginobili. Now let's send it to Atlanta and Ernie Johnson.
And Tony Parker now with 12 points, his second field goal in this third quarter, 14-point lead.
And that's the danger the Spurs have to watch out for. When things come easy to you offensively, you tend to get on cruise control.
Offensive foul, and Allen pushes Manu Ginobili, and that'll be number 1 on Ray.
You have to respect Ginobili. When you see the kinds of things that he gets involved in, you know, defensively, he's working hard. Ray bumps into him. He sets it up by faking back. But in the same token, he's actively involved in the game.
You know, Rex, I don't know if these teams are used to facing locked-in coverage and challenges on every possession.
I don't think so, Dick. San Antonio is just a terrific defensive team, best in the league the last 2 years. But as you saw in that play, Ray Allen just got no push-off off of that ankle.
Well, you can talk about spacing all you want, but in order to space, you got to respect the guys who are being spaced out. Ray is the only one that they're going to emphasize. You look right now, under the basket, everybody's looking to help on Ray unless Lewis is posted.
Double team on Lewis, trapped against the baseline, and Evans gets it out to Allen. 5 on the clock. Ginobili all over Allen, who hits the 3. Ray Allen with his second 3-point basket, and now it's an 11-point lead.
That was one of the most ridiculous possessions I've ever seen in an NBA. It's since the shot clock's been put in.
How about Evans knocking it up?
Awful. Stumbling, fumbling, and Ray Allen bails him out with a 3.
Here's Barry trying to answer it, and the rebound by Evans. So the Sonics showing some zip here in the early moments of this third quarter. Rashard Lewis blocked by Duncan. Third block of the game and a 3-on-1 opportunity. Here's Tony Parker, and he's got it.
That's the exact reason, Tim Duncan is the exact reason that a guy like Brent Barry is allowed to try to guard Rashard Lewis. Because even if he posts him up, you've got the big shot blocker behind you.
And it's still going to go Seattle's way. It's a lead of 62-49.
And Rashard Lewis, Brent Barry fronting in the post, and there's the human eraser. And Parker with a nice finish off the pass from Barry.
Right now, the Spurs had better definitely try to deny the ball for Ray Allen because you can see that he's picking up momentum, and he's very capable of scoring in spurts.
Luke Rittenauer banking that one in, and the Spurs leading by 11 with under 8 minutes to go after their huge lead in the first game. The Spurs were lackluster in the second half as Seattle made inroads.
And you can see the difference in the transition defense of the two teams. The Spurs are back and stop that fast break, whereas the Sonics allow the Spurs to get offensive goals at the other end.
Rittenauer and Lewis missed long-range shots, and the foul called against Manu Ginobili. That'll be the second foul on Ginobili, who has 20. And Evans will go to the line to shoot 2. Evans has yet to score tonight, has missed 4 shots from the field, but has chipped in with 11 rebounds.
Well, you got to love Reggie Evans' work ethic. The guy is a dirt worker. He's down there. He's fighting. He's battling. He's doing all the things that don't show up in the stat sheet. The guy is a relentless worker.
And we've been calling for other people to score. But in the same token, Ray Allen is heating up. You got to go come by and see about Ray before you start taking those shots right now.
Check out NBA TV for highlights, breaking news, press conferences, and behind-the-scenes action during the entire postseason on NBA TV. 1 out of 2 from the line for Evans, and the Spurs lead is down to 10.
Reggie Evans looks like he's shooting a football up there.
But I agree with you. Even though he is, you're absolutely right about the fact that he's actively involved. He's competing.
Long rebound, missed by Parker, gets it back from Nazir Muhammad.
Can't happen, Dick.
Just a killer.
Cannot happen. You can't let a team as good as the Spurs run their offense, get a shot, and didn't get an offensive rebound.
Barry for three. Brett Barry. And the Sonics know all about that after 5 years coming off the bench. Wanted to become a starter, but maybe more than that. Came off the bench this year, wanted to play on a possible championship team. Brett Barry, took a while for him to fit in with his team. And there's Ray Allen in the lane with the jumper. Allen now with 18. He's picking him up now.
He made that shot look easy. I mean, that's one of the most difficult shots in basketball. Running one-handed. He was palming the ball and floats it up and didn't even ripple it.
You know, John wanted to know about how Allen would respond after sitting a while, and it looks like he's okay.
He's responding quite well.
And that's a shot where he can jump off of his good ankle as well.
So we have a timeout, and Allen has 8 of his 18 here in the third quarter, but Bruce Bowen, who has 3 personal fouls, is going to get the call coming into the game when we return to the SBC Center in San Antonio. And earlier this year, Sean Elliott had his number retired up on the rafters. Well-deserved for the courageous Elliott, who came back after a kidney transplant. So Robinson and Elliott up there along with George Gervin, the Iceman, Johnny Moore, and James Silas.
Well, I had the opportunity of playing with David in the 87 Pan Am games, and Sean and I had the unlucky fortune of being the final 2 cuts on the 88 Olympic team by yeah, well, some guy, some old guy that was just militant and everything else at Georgetown University.
You mean Rex? you have said I'll sit next to John Thompson after that experience and do games with him. I admire you for that.
Not only that, he helped me out the other day.
I didn't deserve to make that team. He made the right call.
Well, James committing a second foul. Duncan misses the first free throw. We told you Bowen had come in the game, and now Robert Horry checking in. Horry has 4 points, and going out is Nazir Muhammad. Muhammad tonight has 8 rebounds. That's his stock and trade. And here is Duncan on the line. Must be incredibly tough to make those final cuts, John, on Olympic.
Well, it was. It is extremely tough, and we can see the challenge that we're facing now, you know, but I'm certain that Mr. Colangelo will do a great job.
I think he will.
Spurs by 12. Under 6.5 to go. Pick and roll, and there is James finally showing something for the first time in the series.
Well, and he's looking to the referee, telling the referee that somebody hit him on the arm. When you play in that hole, you're going to get hit. Big fella, just work.
And Ridnour gave him a beautiful pass. Parker wending his way in, and Evans gets the rebound. Evans doing a monster job off the boards, has 12, and the foul is called. And right now, Tony Parker hit in the left eye, and Parker is saying, don't I get a call for this? Meanwhile, the personal foul on Robert Horry, Parker was hit in the left eye.
Took that ball to the hole very, very hard like he normally does, and Luke Ridnour got tripped up. Reggie Evans came across with a little karate chop and gets away with it. But, hey, like you said, Coach, you take that ball to the basket, you play in there, you're going to get hit a little bit. You got to expect it.
I've never seen Parker so animated and yelling at an official like he did and is doing to Joe Crawford here.
Well, that's the price you pay when you are a penetrator. That's why guys like Allen Iverson, Tony Parker, Ginobili, you respect them because they don't take the easy way out. They will go to the glass, and they're going to get hit if they go to the glass.
8 on the shot clock. Here's Luke Ridnour. He's shown some spark in this game, but he has thrown the ball away, picked off by Barry. And here is Duncan ahead of the field. Forget it. Tim Duncan on the drive, and Duncan complaining to Joe Crawford that he was fouled on that play. Tim to 13, and it's a 68-56 lead again.
Tim runs the floor so well. You see Tim just takes off, runs from one end, got his head on the one end of the basket, runs to the other end, beats every big man down the court, probably gets fouled in the process.
And on the other end, Bruce Bowen picking up his 4th personal foul and will go to the bench, replaced by Glenn Robinson. So Bowen with 4 personals, and Robinson, who has hit 1 field goal tonight and has blocked a shot. So Bowen not a factor so far in this game.
Well, look for them to really go to Ray Allen right now. He's got a favorable matchup. He knows that he can get open against Brent Barry, and look for them to really try to milk him.
Ridnour picked up on the switch by Horry, so they got a mismatch inside. And what a great play. Parker was against Rashawn Lewis, and Brent Barry came along to help. That's helping defense all the way. playing the ball and not the man, and that's what the Spurs do.
Well, one of the things that enabled them to do that was that you would have been better off letting Ray Allen throw the entry pass because you would have had to respect him in playing.
Duncan inside, and Tim Duncan now with 5 points here in the third quarter, and the Spurs opening it up again, leading by 14, as Rittenauer has turned it over on the last 2 possessions.
No, that's just a question of experience. That's why the ball's got to be touching Ray's hand, because he's moving now and getting himself going offensively.
And Evans and Murray right in the same area, and the foul is called against Glenn Robinson. And that, for the Spurs, will be their 4th team foul.
You got to love Evans.
Yeah, you got to love him, Coach. Bruce Bowen, as you see right here, this defense is smothering defense. That's Tony Parker getting a steal on a bigger Rashard Lewis, and Tim Duncan, he's at his best on that left box where he can go middle. But Reggie Evans, like we were saying, Coach, he's the type of player, much like Bruce Bowen, he just gets under your skin.
Well, that spoke volumes, that last possession. Murray short on the jumper. Here's Parker. Here the Sonics had a mismatch. They had Lewis against Parker inside. Ended up to be a basket for Duncan, and now they call the offensive foul against Tony Parker.
Well, because that was one of the times that the Seattle defense got back, and Tony is so used to looking for the creases to go through, he tried to create the crease that time.
And it's Reggie Evans again. He's getting back, he's getting in position, he's trying to do what he can do to rally these troops.
Only 1 point, no field goals for Evans, but he's making it count where you want him to in the rebounding and taking up space department. Flip Murray misses a reverse layup, stolen by Lewis. Here's Murray. And Allen's going to fire a 3 and hit. So the third three-pointer by Ray Allen. He has 21 points, and Greg Popovich wants to talk it over. And let's see if he does call a timeout. He does not at this point. An 11-point lead for the Spurs. A delay of the game was the call against Seattle.
And that's how Seattle's got to play. They've got to force turnovers. They've got to make shots. They've got to make it an up-and-down, helter-skelter type of game.
Sonics got it to within 8 points in the first half after trailing by 18 and have not been able to get closer. And right now, the Spurs have 11 seconds to attempt a shot.
I tell you, we're giving Ray Allen a lot of credit, which he deserves. But Reggie Evans is having an impact on this game. Duncan is absolutely angry at him right now.
Duncan with the basket and the foul. Tim Duncan with 17 points, 7 here in the third quarter.
I don't think I want Tim Duncan to be angry at me.
No, I don't think so. And as you see, Tim Duncan, nobody can play Tim Duncan one-on-one. Reggie Evans is an undersized power forward. He's doing all he can do, but Tim Duncan loves this matchup.
But you guys have been just talking about how Evans has been a big factor, and all of a sudden you got to change the lineup. He has to come out with his 4th foul, replaced by Nick Collison.
And you don't mind that, though, because he's created some activity on a team that's been somewhat docile, being the Sonics. Evans at least got involved in the ballgame. Tim Duncan didn't even give support the last defensive set for the Spurs because he was so angry at Evans that he was out on him on the weak side.
And Duncan's missing the free throw. He has scored the last 7 San Antonio points. Spurs lead 72-59. They won wire to wire in game 1. Supersonics had a lead of 2. Their only advantage early on in this game. Otherwise, it's been a San Antonio series, but Seattle challenging much better tonight. Lewis with 5 on the shot clock, the double team, and the foul before the shot. And that will be the Spurs' 15th foul, and it'll be a shooting opportunity for Rashard Lewis.
I'm not exactly sure why that basket didn't count. He takes the ball to the basket hard. He gave a little hesitation, a little long European step. And let's see here. Rashard Lewis squares Robert Horry up, straight line drive, and that's got to be continuation in this league. And Nate McMillan was trying to say the same to Joe Crawford.
Horry with his 3rd foul. Duncan going to the bench with 17 points and 9 rebounds.
You know, Dick, that's one of the things I like about shooters like that. They never have seen a basket that shouldn't count once the guy shoots.
FGA's 3 most used letters in the alphabet. The 3 most important, I should say. FGA. Field goal attempts.
Under 3.5 remaining in the third. Spurs by 11. Horry with a fake inside. Brent Barry going back to Horry. He's already hit a 3 tonight. Now going strong to the hoop, knocked away, and the foul. See if Ray Allen got a hand in it. And that will only be the 3rd team foul. And it is a shooting situation for Horry as Allen chalks up his second. Thursday night on ESPN, it's the Heat and the Wizards in Game 3 of their series. Miami leading 2-0, followed by the Spurs and the Sonics from Seattle. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern.
One of the reasons Robert Horry penetrated to the basket so aggressively is the second line of defense was not bad. He could look past his man and see that if I beat this guy, I can get all the way to the basket. And that's one of the faults that has occurred that Nate has been upset about.
And hasn't been there. They know that when they drive this ball, if they get past their man, this is very uncharacteristic of a Nate McMillan coach team. They're not help defended.
Now, one of the problems that the Spurs have encountered the last year, a little better this year, free throw shooting. They were 11 of 12 in the first half, only 1 for 5, or make it 1 for 6 in the second half. And Allen is knocked down, and the personal foul is against Manu Ginobili, his third.
Well, you got to love how Ray Allen is competing right here. Manu, just unfortunate there, just gets his feet tangled up with Ray, and Ray hits the floor hard, and he'll be feeling that one in the morning. If you think these guys right now feel good when they go out before the game, you're sadly mistaken. After 82 games of the regular season, playoffs, exhibition games, nobody's body feels good. You're all banged up this time of year.
Ray Allen 7 of 7 from the line, trying to make it a single-digit game, and he does, as the Spurs now lead 72-63. Allen with 12 points of his 23 here in this third quarter.
But you just get the feeling that any time that this Spurs team wants to break away from this team that they can. They're sort of like playing around with them a little bit, but when they start getting transition baskets and getting into the lane, they get what they want.
And Ginobili gets what he wants, going in the line and coming into the series. Manu Ginobili went to the free throw line second most of any player other than Paul Pierce of the Celtics. He'll go to the stripe again when we come back to San Antonio with the Spurs leading 72-63 over the Sonics.
Points in the NBA, 1,264. But updated through tonight, Tony Parker, 825 points, and Magic Johnson back in our TNT studios, 587. That's all-time playoff scoring by players under the age of 23. And if this series goes 5 games, guys, Tony will get 3 more chances to pad his numbers.
In pretty impressive company, Charles, as Parker now with the 14 in the game, had 29 in the first contest. Manu Ginobili makes 1 out of 2. So far in this third quarter, the Spurs are 2 of 7 from the free throw line after missing only 1 in the first half.
You know, that is impressive what Charles indicated, but I don't know one defensive player that came out on the court and asked the guy how old he was before he got.
There's Rashard Lewis working against Horry. Barry coming over the double team, and that forced the turnover. Parker going all the way in and foul. Tony Parker, is there anyone quicker, especially from the foul line in going to the hoop?
I don't know if there is anybody quicker, but Tony Parker pushed that ball out in front. Nate McMillan's got to like what Nick Collison did right there. He put a little wood. He gave Tony Parker a little bit of love, coach, which is what no one did from Seattle the other night. He sliced and diced them all night long.
Well, it made him conscious of going to the basket. That's the thing that you have to like about Ginobili. That's the thing you have to like about Parker, Allen Iverson. These are guys that will go to the basket and pay the price for going to the basket. They'll take the hit and get an earned foul.
Yep.
2 free throws by Parker. He has 16. Ginobili off the bench with 21 leading. Duncan with 17. Parker 16. All 3 of those players are averaging over 20 points a game in the playoffs. And Allen with 23 leads the Sonics. He has the ball, shadowed by Barry with 6 on the shot clock, under 2 minutes to go in the third. Antonio Daniels into the game with a runner, and Nazir Muhammad with the rebound. Here's Horry. Robert Horry on the fast break. So once again, the fast break dominated by the Spurs tonight. They have scored 12 more points than Seattle on the break.
And that last possession by Seattle is a prime example. They cannot just stand with one guy and let 4 guys watch him. San Antonio's defense is just too good.
Flip Murray driving after a stop and start against Ginobili, and another rebound by Muhammad. Here's Parker again touch pass, but staying with Ginobili is Murray.
Too much one-on-one for Seattle.
And just the opposite with the Spurs.
Yeah.
I mean, they probed 3 different times, pull the ball out and say, hey, fellas, we can get something better than this.
Parker driving foul. Looked like Lewis had bumped him. Let's see who they call the play against, but Parker going to the line again. And it is against Rashard Lewis.
As you see on the fast break here, Manu Ginobili looking. Robert Horry running wide and is the recipient of an excellent pass by Ginobili. And where's the deep? Take that charge. Got to take that charge. Take the hit.
Well, see, and that's the difference at the other end. We will look at the matchups and say that Barry is guarding Ray Allen. Wrong. The team is guarding Ray Allen, because once Barry stops the jump shot and Ray Allen penetrates, the whole Spurs team goes. Just the opposite at the other end with Seattle, and that's what Nate McMillan has been upset about.
Spurs on a 7-0 run, leading by 16, 79-63, under a minute to go in the third. So every time the Sonics have made a run to cut it to around 10, get it under double digits, the Spurs come back, and it's all keyed by their defense.
And look at that middle close up. As soon as when the Spurs players attempt to penetrate, everybody's there helping, and this is what happens when it happens.
Collison loses it out of bounds with 43+ to go.
And you make a great point, guys. The last person Ray Allen is concerned about on defense is Brent Barry.
The guy guarding.
He knows he can beat Brent Barry. He's looking at everybody else, and they're staring at him.
Parker out of bounds. Last touch by the Spurs, with 6 seconds differential between the shot clock and the game clock.
See, if Ray doesn't hit his jumper, what the guys in the studio applied, referred to, will work. He's got to post up, and then the help won't be there unless they're collapsing on it.
Daniels controlling out of the top. Picked up by Horry on the switch. Feeding Collison. Good play by Seattle.
Real good play.
They've got to have more of that. More penetration, more movement, more passing the basketball.
Now the final seconds of this third quarter. Tony Parker can't penetrate. Cut off by Daniels. Horry will fire a 3. Collison the rebound, and that'll do it. So the Sonics certainly playing with a lot more energy tonight than they did in game number 1. But they have a hill to climb as the Sonics trail the Spurs by 14 after 3 as they try to even the best of 7 at 1-1.
The finest gentleman, too, in the business.
And we start the fourth quarter. Dick Stockton along with John Thompson, Rex Chapman, and Charles Davis, and Nick Collison with a chance for the three-point play. The foul is against Glenn Robinson and can cut the lead to 11.
In case you guys didn't know it, George Strait has had 50 number 1 hits. Is that right? Is that 50 number 1 hits?
And you're not only a fan, but you've got some cohorts back at Georgetown that are fans also, don't you?
George Strait people. That's exactly right. A lot of people had a lot of difficulty believing in inner city black guy from Washington like George Strait.
With you, no one would not believe anything, I would have to say.
Watch yourself.
Is that widely known, by the way, of your interest in your friendship with George Strait?
Country music. I came to Georgetown singing country music. I love George Strait.
You're not a closet George Strait fan.
No.
Okay.
Anybody knows that.
Okay.
You don't want me to start singing, man.
You're right.
Well, that's going to be in the next game. Ginobili with 8 on the shot clock. Driving in the paint with a one-hander. Manu Ginobili, great touch there. Has 28. He has hit 23, I should say. Has hit 8 of 9 from the field.
What a tough shot. And right now, Seattle's biggest hurdle is they've got to match San Antonio's intensity and try to take this crowd out of the ball game.
Ray Allen on the bench right now has played 32 minutes. Rashard Lewis, not enough on it, but the rebound by Collison. And they're going to call the foul against the Spurs. Collison, great hustle. There is Allen, who has scored 23 points in 32 minutes. Second in time to only Rashard Lewis, who has 34. Meanwhile, Manu Ginobili picking up his 4th foul. And Bruce Bowen, who has 4 himself, will replace Ginobili, who's obviously upset.
And, even though Lewis missed that last shot, Rex, I like the fact that he attempted it. Because he's a guy that's got to get out and can't wait for the game to come to him. He's got to be aggressive. He's got that kind of talent.
Rittenauer with Murray Antonio Daniels, Collison, and Rashard Lewis, and Beno Udrich, who has come in to give Tony Parker a breather, picks up the foul. So a couple of quick fouls against the Spurs, 3 already in this fourth quarter.
Well, here, I believe, with Ray Allen on the bench, Rashard Lewis has got to do what he's just been doing. Take the ball to the basket, initiate contact, but take advantage of the matchup he's got right now. Get the ball to him. You got to make the post pass.
Double team, Duncan and Udrich. Daniels for 3. And Barry times the rebound perfectly.
And that's okay. That's okay. You got a good look at a three-point shot off the double team.
Duncan. And you front Duncan, you get burned. And Eric Bonner is the cheerleader on the sideline. Tim Duncan now with 19 points and a 15-point San Antonio lead early in the fourth.
And that's not okay.
And it's a question of experience, because they just swung the ball to the side of Collins wasn't on and got the ball into it.
And it's Robinson on Lewis. Robinson has showed some defensive prowess in the first 2 games of the series for the Spurs. Daniels with acceleration and a nifty layup by him.
Very, very nice, explosive move. Antonio Daniels has got great quickness, and again, he's not afraid of these guys. He saw them every day in practice for 4 years.
So he's got the kind of attitude that Evans has. You know, he's attacking, he's going after. Collison is that way also. You know, this is what you need a little bit of, particularly when this game goes back to Seattle.
And a hacking foul on Tim Duncan, and it'll be the 4th foul on Rashard Lewis. So Lewis, with his 4th foul, has scored 14 points. And Ray Allen gets booed as he comes back in the game. And with the comments he has made about Bruce Bowen, obviously no fan favorite here.
I'm not certain that I'd want to be cheered on somebody else's court if I was Ray Allen. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It energizes you when you're booed. It surely does. It should.
And Barry from Duncan lose the ball out of bounds. So the Sonics early here in the fourth, trailing 83-70. A different game than the opening game of the series, although the Spurs have been in control from the start, but the Sonics hanging in there. Rittenauer. Now on the other side, it's Murray. Murray firing a 3. Short with it, and Allen wins the fight in the corner. Bowen is on him. Plenty of time on the shot clock.
And I like this, setting this back up, not taking another quick shot. That's what they've been doing if they have been getting second chance opportunities.
Ever they're missing Vladimir Radmanovich, another one of their long-range shooters who plays power forward. Murray crossover against Robinson, loses the ball. Robinson gets it away from him.
Yeah, that Spurs defense isn't just guarding you. They're trying to take the ball from you. They're trying to get possession of the basketball. A lot of teams just stand in front of you and guard you.
But Glenn Robinson, who has never been known for defense, and he's known for this. This is the shot. Maybe he'll turn into a Bruce Bowen type of player in his old age.
It just shows you that good team defense protects you and even makes guys who aren't great defensive players play defense.
And Nick Collison has now 4 fouls. So Lewis, Evans, and Collison all have 4 fouls for Seattle. Bowen and Ginobili with 4 fouls for San Antonio. And a timeout with 8:35 remaining in the fourth. The lead is 13 for San Antonio.
To find that acceptable, to tell you the truth. So you just disregard my feelings at that point. Not when you got beat that bad by the Spurs, that you're out here fooling with a blimp.
Robinson guarded by Lewis with 10 on the shot clock. And the double team fake. Daniels now coming over to Robinson. Tipped away by Allen. And it's going to be 3 seconds on the shot clock for the Spurs.
And that was good team defense on the part of the Sonics that time.
3 seconds on the shot clock. Bowen will inbound with Udrich, Duncan, Barry, and Robinson. And here's Beno Udrich. Has to get it up. And here's Duncan firing. And Lewis getting the rebound. Tomorrow night on TNT, Pacers-Pistons. Game 2 of their series, followed by Game 2 between the Mavericks and the Suns. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. 8:05 remaining. As Allen missed the shot from outside. Allen is 6 for 13 from the field, has 23, and has seen a lot of action. 34 minutes of this game after being questionable with a sprained ankle before the contest. Robinson Normally doesn't miss by that much.
And he's probing to try to get inside. Now the Seattle defense is doing what it hadn't been doing, is closing up the lane.
And Lewis with a long three, and Udrich gets the rebound. So the Supersonics at 39% shooting, and the Spurs at 51%. They have been over 50 virtually this entire game.
Well, a lot of that reflects the layups, the penetrations to the baskets, the posting up that they've been doing.
Like this. Although Duncan's shot goes off the rim and Rittenauer comes down with it. Nearly 7 minutes to go. Spurs won the opening game by 22. It was the biggest margin of a Game 1 playoff game that the Sonics were ever inflicted, trying to even the series before the next two in Seattle. Rashard Lewis in the lane has 16 now, and it's an 11-point contest.
And I was anxious to see what the Sonics were going to do that time. They had hoisted 2 threes back-to-back, trying to close this gap from a 13-point lead, and took 2 quick threes. And I'd like to see Rashard go to the bucket there.
Udrich goes to Barry. And Duncan. Get Duncan from outside. You leave him open. He'll hit. Duncan with 21 points on 10 for 17 shooting.
That's just too easy. And Jerome James has got a tough cover, but I just can't get over the fact, and I hate to kill a guy, but I just can't get over the fact that he just looks disinterested right now.
Robinson committing the foul, and that'll be the 4th team foul against the Spurs, and 4 against Robinson off the bench. Robinson tonight playing 20 minutes.
And I think Jerome James has made a lot of progress, Rex, but I think he's got to get in better condition so that if a guy is facing the basket, he feels comfortable going out and still being able to retreat. Also, his transition up and down the court. He obviously has gotten better offensively off of the block.
Tony Parker returns to the game. Robinson sits down, scoring 4 points tonight, picking up his 4th foul. And the offensive foul called against the Sonics, Jerome James. James has 4 points and 3 rebounds after a 4.2 rebound game in the first contest. And you wonder if a guy who, by the way, is a free agent, maybe believing his clippings that he is a 17.9 rebound player as he was against Sacramento.
Well, I believe so, but right now he's got his hands full, and they're going to go to a steady diet of as much of Tim Duncan on this end as possible.
Ginobili, good touch from the baseline. Ginobili now with 25.
He can hurt you in so many ways. And I love the fact that he puts out defensively, gets loose balls.
And they're going to call the block on Bowen as Allen driving in, and Bruce Bowen now 5 fouls on Bowen. And a timeout. So the smile on Bruce Bowen's face, not as sincere as you'd like.
No. I have to keep from crying. That's that smile. You take an ex-player like Rex, you take the guys that are in the studio, they enthusiastically admire this man because of how he totally plays the game and puts forth the effort. When I was coaching, I'd always love to ask a player, what do you think of a player?
And how many All-Stars could you say after a season he had where he was on the All-Star team? Hey, guess what, Manu? We're down 1-0 against Denver. We'd like you to come off the bench. It'll be better for the team. We're going to start Brent Barry. And he says, okay. And he responds.
That's why this team is good.
Allen to James. Slamming it through. Jerome James emphatically. That's his 6th point of the game. And it's a 10-point contest. Enough time remaining.
Well, and after making that basket, he got back down court faster than he has all night.
Right,
he gets back that fast on defense, and I don't mean to pick on him because I think he is talented.
Back door goes Ginobili, and he's fouled. Tony Parker feeding Manu Ginobili, who is knocked down and helped up by Duncan.
Well, and as we see here, this is a great pass back door. Jerome James grabs the rim, and that's goaltending. I believe the Sonics may have gotten away with one there.
Murray committing the foul is 3rd.
You know, the interesting thing about guys like Ginobili, he is very, very capable of exaggerating the foul. He's getting hit, but he makes certain that every time he goes to the basket, that he puts a little more oomph into it, a little more pain into it.
I think George Karl had commented about that in the first round.
Well, and George Karl's got, he's one to be talkative. Somebody played as hard and as reckless as he did. But I played for one of the great whiners and actors in all of basketball, Danny Ainge, and Danny sold us on the fact that acting is part of the game. You've got to act out there.
And there's Ray Allen, who is an actor in movies, on the side. And there is Allen flipping it to Daniels. Daniels, not enough on the layup, and it comes down to Manu Ginobili. How about Ginobili going on the line 10 times, has hit 8, more than any other player on the Spurs. Under 2 minutes to go, 11-point lead, and Barry hitting a 2. Brent Barry with his 3rd field goal, and a standing ovation. Timeout called by Seattle, and the Spurs opening up a 14-point bowl. On 40 minutes of action, 25 points, 6 field goals, 3 out of the 4 3-point baskets by the Sonics, and made all 10 of his free throws.
Well, Ray isn't playing 40 minutes because he wants to. He's playing because the team needs. Can you imagine if he did not play in the ball game? And that's a tribute to Nate McMillan. This team, to me, looks like it's really overachieved all season.
This is a team that won the Northwest Division, as Rashard Lewis now with 20 points putting it in. So Allen and Lewis account for 45, and Daniels with 14 more. 96-85, Spurs by 11. Murray staying with Barry, now in the low post. Here is Duncan, right now single covered by James. And Duncan's going to go up and under and score. Duncan with 25.
Excuse me, Dick. I think Nate McMillan and company have to come back the next game and decide they're just going to take the ball out of Tim Duncan's hands. See if Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili can carry this team, because they're just giving them anything and everything right now.
Easier said than done, as Parker is fouled and will go to the line with 1:09 to go.
Well, the upside is the fact that Lewis joined Allen in this game.
Yes.
Now, if they can get some good minutes out of James, and James on the board and playing defense in the lane, giving the ball early, they might be in a little better position.
But they have been outplayed by the Spurs in the first 2 games. You saw Manu Ginobili get a hand as he went to the bench with 28 points tonight, hitting 2 threes and 8 for 10 from the line. And Parker, and we're going to see Devin Brown, very huge fan favorite, replacing Robert Horry, who goes out. But there is Devin Brown, who after game number 1, Greg Popovich says doesn't figure to be much of a factor here with an injured back, so limited action down the stretch for the Spurs. Parker hitting both free throws. Parker with 22 points, so 65 points total tonight for Ginobili, Duncan, and Parker. And a foul inside with 1:03 on the clock.
You just get the impression, looking at the Sonics against the Spurs, that regardless of what they do, they're going to be into a very difficult position. The Spurs are just so good, so deep, so experienced. It's just a very difficult task for this Seattle team. They have to be playing at their very, very best to beat this team, and I don't think they can do it at all.
Well, Greg Popovich has led the Spurs to 2 world championships back in '99 and more recently in 2003. And it's one thing to get by the first round of the playoffs, but to get past the second round is another story, and that is where experience plays a major role. And the Spurs have it, the Pistons have it, and that looms large as far as looking ahead in this playoff.
Well, it sure does, and Shaquille O'Neal down in Miami has it. Not many of his teammates do, but Shaq's a unique character in himself, and the Phoenix Suns have a little bit of it. But, guys, if you don't mind, I want to get something off my chest. Been kind of waiting. I've been bombarded the last few days. I just got to say, the last couple days there's been some soft shoe and some dancing around the issue, but Dan Levitard of the Miami Herald wrote a piece that indicated that race may have affected the outcome of the MVP award this year. Well, I got to say, Stevie Nash, one of my best friends in the whole world. Don't know that I have a better friend, and obviously I'm a little biased. I think he was the MVP, but I consider Shaq a friend as well. Shaq is, like we said, in a league by himself and possibly the MVP every year. But the elephant is in the room, folks. Let's not be naive and think that it's not. We got to acknowledge that there could be a handful of voters out there. It was a close race. Let's acknowledge it.
James with the basket and the foul with 52.1. John, you have anything to add?
Well, the only thing about it does both players a disservice when you cloud the issue in that format. If that is the case, it needs to be discussed at another place and another time. I think that you look at something like that, it does Nash a disservice, and it also does Shaquille O'Neal a disservice to interject that element into it. I was in a barber shop where they were all African Americans, and we were having a heated discussion, and I think it was about 50-50 for Nash and 50-50 for Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, all I will say is that both of you guys deserve plaudits for your opinions here. Is that I wouldn't give any kind of notice to a person who would bring that up.
But I'll tell you this, Dick. Like Coach said, and we said yesterday, racism isn't a joke. It's not entertainment. Not for anybody. It's a serious subject. And I grew up in the South, and I've seen it firsthand.
Well, we have 41.1 seconds remain, and the Spurs leading 104-89. And Glenn Robinson fouls out, scored 4 points in the game, and the Spurs going over 100 for the second straight game, and holding the Seattle Sonics to under 100 points. This is a Seattle team that averaged 99 points in the regular season, 102 points in the playoffs coming in. They scored 81 in game one, and they have 89 right now. So figure it out.
Well, and I think that they have to give an attitude adjustment if they're going to compete with this team. I think a lot of what we saw, they were discouraged by the first ball game. They have reacted a lot better in this game, but let's not kid ourselves. We're playing against a team that is much better than the Seattle Supersonics, and they've got to be at the top of their game to compete with this team.
They've got to be at the top of their game. They've got to compete. But they've got to compete, and then they've also got to have unbelievable shooting. They've got to put that ball in the basket.
Tony Massenberg into the game. There is some of the cast of characters of the Seattle team. Of course, they'll have the fans on their side at the T Arena on Thursday when the series goes back there. And I think in these playoffs, you want to eliminate a team as fast as you can. You don't want to go deep into a playoff series because it could affect your legs and your mental state for the next round, as maybe we saw that with Dallas a little bit and Indiana. And so both the Phoenix Suns, who have a 1-0 lead, and the Spurs, who will have a 2-0 lead, don't want to play around and give up any game.
If you play against the Spurs, you better have rested legs. I mean, the Suns, you better have rested legs the way they're getting out.
You better be fresh.
And the crowd on its feet. Spurs losing only 4 games this year, 3 in the regular season, 1 of them to Seattle, and this one will drop for Nazr Mohammed. A 3 for Nazr Mohammed, adding the exclamation point, and the game is over, and Tim Duncan with his widest smile, as you'll see. A 108-91 victory. Manu Ginobili had 28, Duncan 25, Parker 22, a combined total of 75 for the Big Three.